Hey guys, so welcome to my channel. My name is Emmanuel. This is Tech with E. So what I want to go over today is how to best learn Flutter. Now, if you're new to Flutter, Flutter is created by Google, and it basically allows you to build native apps on iOS and Android with a single code base, as we see here. And so personally, I've been getting into Flutter recently, and it made me start to think, how there were some steps that I took. Some that may be long to others or very quick to others to learn, but I want to kind of give a layout of how you should go about learning Flutter, or how you can, and see if that helps you. So basically, when you first come to the site, go ahead and just get updated to what they're trying to do. See that they have a community, they have the documentation and such. But so our idea is here is to learn the language. So when you head over to documentation, their documentation is beautiful, and I'm always a fan of Google documentation, whether it's Firebase, and which is very useful. And even when you start learning Flutter, you're going to start seeing that that a lot of what they've created works very well with Firebase. So if you're a Firebase person, Flutter is perfect for you. So before you start, I would say before going into actually the development of Flutter, you need to learn what Flutter was written in, and it was written in Dart. So your best way after installing and such is to come here and look at the Dart language overview. So Dart, obviously Dart was also created by Google, and it is what Flutter is written in. So to be able to best understand Flutter, you need to understand what Dart can do, and its language. So as you come through, you say a tour of the Dart language, and again, the documentation is beautiful, and you'll start noticing to see that a lot of it's similar to Java and to other languages as well. So if you come from those backgrounds, understanding it won't be too bad, but it's something that you definitely want to familiarize yourself with. And so you can just go through all of them. And not saying that you have to 100% know everything, but getting a good understanding of how to declare variables, expressions, booleans, conditionals, all the things that you need to build a full app. So after you've done that, you're on you have built a good foundation. So then after doing so, after that, I would come back here, and so you're ready to start looking at Flutter and seeing what it can do. So first, of course, start in order. So come to user interface, and first what this is going to do is give you an introduction to widgets. In Flutter, everything is a widget, and what's good about that is the idea that everything that you make, similar to React Native, if you've used that language with components, in Flutter it's all called widgets. So Flutter does a good job. The Flutter team here at Google does a really good job of really breaking out good coding examples to understand what exactly are these widgets, what are these material components to build the layout. And they do a good job of just first getting you a good introduction. So after you've done that and you're starting to see, okay, it's okay if you're not familiar too much with it at this point. This is just an intro. But as you start going through the build layouts, you'll see that they have layouts in Flutter. And you start going over, okay, exactly how is the widget tree. And it's really good to understand this, because if you can be really good at looking at a layout and saying, okay, let me break this down into rows and columns and such, it's going to help you to build really anything. And so they have a really good documentation here to make it very easy for you to start getting a hang of it and have a good foundation in it. So I would go through all of these, and then of course they have these tutorials that are really good to help you build a full, like a one-page app and such like that. Now I would go through all of these assets and image, adding interactivity with gestures. Data backend is super important, and then you start getting into the state management. So a lot of apps you have to manage the state and basically right. So your state, if you're using, say, with a persistent backend with Firebase, for example, that is kind of, you need to be able to manage the state, and you need to be able to manage the data between views and other views. And so what they've done is they've done a really good job of helping you to understand what exactly is state management and how to go about thinking about how it works and how should I manage it. And so they have a lot of different options to manage state, and so you can come through and look at their different the different ways that they've said you can manage state. Also, there's also Redux as well. Redux for Flutter. So when you start getting into this, first again, start from the beginning. When you start getting into this, you'll start seeing, okay, similarities in other languages, and then you will see that when you get to state management, that there's a different state management like block, Redux, and there's some others, but those are two are really super big with these cross-platform languages. Obviously, JSON serialization is super important. Needing to be able to do HTTP requests, such that I grab data from a source, from a server, and then of course, beautiful Firebase. They really did a good job of integrating, which is super important. So do get to this, get an idea of how this works, and once you've gone through all of these examples, you'll be ready at this point to start with the persistent backend. Sorry. Okay, accessibility, and you have other stuff. But another thing I want to point to is these packages, and they have packages similar to when if you did iOS development, you would go like with CocoaPods and things like that, and you would download these download these packages to help you in your app. So they had the same idea here, and let me show you the packages site. Now this packages site is awesome. It allows you to look up different things that you want to integrate. So for example, I've done a lot of Firebase. Okay, so I'll look up my Firebase, and it gives you all the packages that you need, right? Firebase messaging, Firebase core, Firebase auth. Okay, and then you come here, and then you'll be able to see, oh, where are my dependencies on Android, iOS, and then of course installing it. And when you start going through the sections on Flutter.io, they explain to you where to put these in your file, and it's just a simple way of it downloading. It's really fast as well. So then you can look at through the examples, and they have their GitHub sources, the uploaders, and such like that. So this is a very good site. So you can pretty much find everything that you need. Of course, a lot of things are still in development, so do keep that in mind. So you can always support them on their GitHub, etc. And then, so after that, that's super important. So after you start getting through all these packages and seeing how also the tools and techniques with Visual Studio, whatever editor you use, and it's best to also use something that they support, because there's a lot of plugins that really make your life easy when coding. You can, it makes it really easy. And of course, go through your reference, which is your widget index, and it shows you everything that is a widget. Alert dialogues, alignment. So here, one of the biggest things with learning Flutter is kind of a learning curve here. Might be just learning all the widgets, but once you get that down, you don't have to memorize them. But once you get used to using these all the time, believe me, and I've been doing it for since January, and I've been able to really build some nice things with it. So, and of course, on my channel, I'm going to be building. Stay tuned. I'm going to be building apps in Flutter, and so if you have any suggestions, put in the comments, and also I'll put my GitHub so you can maybe go to that and see what I'm working on. But yeah, definitely get yourself familiar with all of these. It helps a lot, and a lot of cool things that easily put a bottom sheet, and it's really customizable, which is really good. After doing so what also can help you is these codebook and these code labs. So these code books kind of are like mini tutorials. Add a jar to a screen. It'll show you how to add a jar to a screen, and you can do this. So that's huge as well, to be able to, if you need this, which a lot of apps do use these type of draw systems, Twitter, all those. If you want these little sliders, you can customize this. So it's a way of doing it as well. And they have these a bunch more, right? Even up to maintenance, navigation, networking, examples to really help you learn. So go through all of these. It might seem a lot at first, so I suggest just get really good at just knowing the basics and start applying it right away. Go ahead and start coding up apps, and that's how you best learn is application. So start small, build out layouts, try to go on Dribble, That's so one of the things I've done. I want to expand on that actually is I'll go on Dribble, and that's a lot of other YouTubers doing. And you do your own Flutter UI challenges. Try to just look at the screen, say I'm going to build that, and build it, and get used to that. And then you can reuse the code, of course, and it helps you understand it. So that is well, at least what I say is a good way of going about learning Flutter. Of course, you have sources like YouTube, but I always say get familiar with the documentation first. So when you see other developers coding things, or you see something on GitHub, you're at least somewhat familiar with it. But if your to go to is YouTube, go ahead on to YouTube. So again, on my channel, I'm going to be making tutorials more on Flutter and other languages. And so if you have any suggestions, put them in the comments. I'll be making things with Firebase, and also doing UI challenges and etc. So if you have any questions, please comment. Also subscribe to stay tuned and push the notifications button. Thank you.